Viewers, welcome. This is an election year, and it also happens to be the year that DNT marks our first anniversary. And as we get to celebrate this milestone, we couldn't think of anyone better fit to celebrate it with us than the elder statesman, who is also a great president, former president of ours, His Excellency John Agyekum Kufour, former president. Please welcome.
Well, welcome.
Very good. Thank you. Today we're going to speak mostly about the diaspora. And I also noticed that you are a member of the diaspora. I know a long time ago you came back, and I want to know what it was like reintegrating into the system.
I never considered myself a diasporan.
Oh, really?
In the sense that it was just a stint I had outside Ghana.
Okay.
I went for, if you like, tertiary education. I did my primary, secondary, all in Ghana.
Okay.
Then after secondary, I went over to Britain. 59. I studied law, and then took a degree from Oxford University.
Okay.
And came back to Ghana 65 January.
65. So that was 6 years.
Altogether.
Okay. So that's...
So in those days, we went not thinking we were going to live there.
Right.
We just went like into a college to do an institutional course and come back home.
Right.
That's why I say I didn't consider myself like a diaspora.
But for having stayed there for 6 years, when you came back, I'm sure that you started to see things differently.
I came back 62 because I had been called to the bar in Britain 61.
Okay.
62 I came here to register as a lawyer, a barrister. And so the 3 years or so I had been away, I saw changes radically, economically and societally. Is that the right word?
Societal, yes.
Societally. And the changes were dramatic.
Okay.
Because around independence, Ghana was very well off. We weren't numerous. We were just a population of about 6 million or so.
Okay.
And life was money-wise cheap. People were happy, abundant food. Politics was going awry in the sense of the CPP led by Nkrumah, and then the opposition, and then we got independence 57. 58, the then government, Nkrumah's government, passed the Preventive Detention Act, by which they could put anybody in detention at and so on prison for, say, first instance, 5 years without trial.
Wow.
It was unknown in this country. So there was some tension. But economically, it wasn't that bad. Time I came back 62 to register as a barrister or to be called to the bar, as they say, things had changed. Life was getting tighter and tighter economically. Yeah. And there was tension because people who had gotten nervous, people were traumatized.
Right.
Everybody feared to speak.
Right.
Lest they found themselves behind bars and so on without trial. So that I returned back to Britain to continue studies, finished 64, and then came back January 65 to find that things had gone even worse than what I saw in 62.
Okay.
So, but then, when we went for studies, we didn't seek employment or anything over there.
Okay. Right. When you came in as president, I noticed that you came in at the heels of the libel law, which was similar because it prevented people from speaking. But when you became president, you pretty much opened it up. I think you gave people
we repealed the law.
Repealed the law. When you're president, does it bother you when people criticize you very viciously?
Unless you are not human.
Okay.
All over the world, if you are human, naturally people criticize if it's constructive criticism and say you are normal, you take things in your stride and try to see, you try to be responsive.
Right.
But some people can get so callous with power. You criticize, it's like water off the back of a duck. But you use the word viciously.
Yeah.
And any president anywhere criticized viciously, naturally, would be bothered.
Yeah. But you didn't react. You were incredibly restrained.
I had a very long apprenticeship.
Okay.
From even my secondary school times, 54.
Okay.
And as you know, I was born and raised in Kumasi.
Okay.
Kumasi, which became the hotbed of opposition to Nkrumah CPP. And so I grew up sensing the tensions and then the resistance and opposition to the sweep of CPP, and then into independence. I just told you, just a year after independence, we'd gone into independence with a constitution that could be described as democratic and liberal. Within 1 year,
it was all gone.
I said, detention for being in opposition to government. And not only that, people were sent into exile. Ahmad Baba's case being typical. Ahmad Baba was Kumasi Hausa. In fact, he was the Zongohin of Kumasi. I knew him personally.
Yeah.
A Kumasi man who had properties all over. Everybody knew him. This man, unfortunately, got picked up. And then they were told he was Hausa originally, so he should go back to Hausa land.
Wow. But that is surprising considering that Nkrumah lived in the United States, which was at the time very democratic. What do you think turned him around?
Much of those times had become part of the Cold War.
Okay.
And given the racism in the United States and the, if you like, the black movement, which had become radical to fight for their civil rights and all that. Nkrumah belonged to them, left of center. And from United States, he had also moved to Britain, and by account, his association was mainly left. People even suspected he flirted with the communists of those times. So you could be living in the United States, but you could be left of center, extreme left of center.
Very good. Has Ghana leveraged her diaspora adequately, in your opinion?
We are working towards it. You would remember when I was president, we launched what we described as the Joseph project.
That's correct.
I remember late Obechi Bilamte was spearheading their call to the people of African descent to look towards Africa. And you remember people came back.
That's right.
To take part because we thought when we looked at the United States, which really was a cauldron of all races and all peoples.
That's correct.
It's a country of migrants.
That's correct.
Some of those migrants looked back to their roots, whether in Europe or Middle East or elsewhere. But we went sensing that the blacks of the United States were looking to Africa to, in a way, influence the development and evolution of the African society. The way, say, the Jews of the United States were
look at Israel,
reaching out to Israel, or the Poles were looking to Poland, or the Irish to Ireland, and so forth and so on. And so we said, no, it was time to draw the attention of people of African descent to look towards Africa. We knew a bit of the history behind the transatlantic transfer of people. And we thought, yes, the whites were responsible for that inhuman trade. But in history too, some of our ancestors also were at fault. They were played, though.
Right. They were played.
They were
yes.
played into participating in that. So we said the thing to use to, in a way, encourage people of African descent to look towards was the Joseph story. You'd remember biblically,
Yes.
Joseph was sold
Exactly.
by his brothers.
Right.
And he went to Egypt to become a prince. A very powerful man.
So that was
Then in
where the name
famine,
from.
when his brothers were forced to go to seek for food, he saw them, they didn't see him.
Okay.
But he was magnanimous enough to welcome them and even to ask for them to bring their father and all that sort of thing. And in a way, that could be said to have contributed very much to the resuscitation of Israel.
Okay.
So we thought we could use the Joseph story to make an appeal to people in the diaspora, African people in the diaspora,
To come.
to come back.
Do you think it works, one, and two, do you think that angst, they still harbor the African Americans? Do you think they harbor that?
You will have lived there all along, so
Right.
you would know whether they
Okay.
have all this angst, as you say.
Right.
But I would think with the opening up of the world
Okay.
and the movement towards globalization, we draw the line somewhere, and then
They'll bring it.
because the stigma that Africa has carried down the centuries is smeared on all black people.
Right.
Non-Africans tend to define Africa by the pigment
Of
of
that's
Africans. So
exactly.
you could be a billionaire, a president like Obama. Once they see you are black, they are African, back, that sort of thing. So I think it's the responsibility of all people of African descent to come on board and eradicate this stigma.
Yeah, you mentioned this people likening people with black pigmentation to Africa, and it brings me to, at some point, you know, the Chinese weren't doing very well, and so globally they were sort of looked at like that. But when they fixed their economy, now they're looked at differently.
Naturally.
Okay, so do you think we need to do a better job of fixing our continent before we gain that respect?
No, it's an ongoing work. You
Okay.
don't draw the line. You don't say you fix the economy before.
Right.
No, now we are talking the dignity of mankind.
Okay.
What we should talk about is the universality of mankind.
Okay.
You may be rich, you may be poor. Once you are human, you are entitled to be respected.
Exactly.
That's the Declaration of Universal Human Rights.
That's correct.
But fixing the economy or governing well, not just the economy, governing well, centering the betterment of mankind in any polity should be the order of the day.
Okay.
When you respect people for their humanity, they gain the confidence that really is the factor that engenders, if you like, productivity, self-confidence, that enabling them to look others in the eye, to tell them their peace of mind. That's what we need around the world now.
Right.
When you look anybody in the eye, because you know who you are, and that you are human, like he is, he may be white, green, red, or whatever.
Absolutely.
That person, there's something in nature, instinctively would know that they can't walk over you.
Exactly.
The way they've trampling on us down
Exactly.
the centuries.
Exactly. But that's not practiced very well here. People looking directly into the eye is not a common practice here.
But it's coming up.
It's coming up.
Look, for the past 500 years or so, first, the continent suffered the slave trade. People were traded like chattels.
Right.
And then, even when they said there was abolition of the trade. Africa lapsed into colonialism.
Right.
The Europeans divided the continent up arbitrarily. And again, subjugated us. Anybody's so brainwashed, anybody, anywhere, might not have the self-confidence
That's true.
to look others in the eye
Yeah.
that we are talking about.
Yeah. They're talking about slave trade. Even in today's world, we hear that it's happening in the northern part of the continent where our own fellow Africans are trading black people. Is the AU doing enough to curtail that?
AU is trying. AU is not older than 20 years.
Right.
And you don't change human nature or attitudes just like that. But AU is trying. What, again, we shouldn't forget is that, again, back in history, you talked of our brothers in the north. Mm-hmm. They tended to think they were other than African. They saw themselves more perhaps as Arabs and then looked down on those of us from sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
Like,
so what was your experience with some of the leaders? Were they body language that suggested that?
Well, with me, anybody from anywhere, you wouldn't feel we were talking to a lesser human than yourself.
Okay,
that's me personally.
Okay.
But I wouldn't know about others.
Oh, that one. When the diaspora, there's been a lot of call for diasporans to come in. One, those in the diaspora feel like African countries pay lip service when they say come in. Are they right?
Everybody got brainwashed.
Okay.
What shouldn't happen is for anybody to want to come back in search of their roots with the mentality that is coming to civilize people.
Okay.
That is coming with superior rights, the superior know-how and that sort of thing. No. Once you accept that your ancestors left this place to wherever you find yourself now, and you want to set your roots. In fact, you should come like you are going to, a Muslim is going to Mecca. You should come with a spirit of humility to come and see. So this is where my great parent came from. When you come with this attitude, you wouldn't expect to be met with red carpet from airports and then, no. So I think those who would come back should come with the proper psychology.
Okay.
Just like those of us on the continent making the appeal for others to come back home, should also see that these people have lived in a culture, say United States, of self-expression, participation. They've come by science and technology and know-how and so forth. So they think big monies and private initiatives and things like that. So if we asking them to come back, not just because we want to say they are cousins, they are black like us. We appreciate that where they found themselves. There's advancement in terms of economy, in terms of technology, perhaps appreciation of the wider world and that sort of thing. So we want them to come back to do business or to come and be like a yeast for leavening the bread of Africa. So we should appreciate that they are coming to help enrich the continent. And we shouldn't talk, like you said, lip service, with lip service to get them here, only to frustrate them. So they go back and then they don't want to hear of the word Africa.
Yeah.
So there should be movement on both sides.
I think you just touched on the very reason why DNT is formed, because we want to really foster this communication, because you're right. On the one hand, people who are coming in think they're God's gift to their respective country. That's wrong. At the same time, there are people here, when you come back, even in your humility, they still, by virtue of the fact that you've changed, they have some sort of an attitude toward you. What conversation needs to happen to foster that understanding?
I've come to believe that the changes, especially the significant transformational changes around the world, they come not through masses so much as through visionary leadership. Leadership that is committed and would pursue persistently the vision which they would work to realize even at the cost of their lives. So it's one thing the media are doing propaganda about this and that, and another getting the few leaders who really mean something from the core to really try to ignite a communication, fruitful communication between the diaspora Africans and the Africans on the continent. When the leaders, in this respect, allow me to say, especially in government, would craft policies and implement with sincerity and commitment to draw people and would implement the policies masterfully to welcome the returnees, if I may use the word, into society and economy. And you see the changes will come initially, perhaps gradually, but in due course, they will gather momentum.
Are you expecting money from your relations abroad? Have you ever been defrauded of your money remittance? Open an ADB account today. Send your name and your account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram direct to account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram direct to account service, there's no PIN code wahala. You can now access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send it to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile banking app or shortcode *767#. Visit our branches nationwide to conveniently receive your Western Union, MoneyGram, RIA, Unitylink, Transfast, and Express Money Transfers. Reach us on our Facebook, website, or call our hotline on 0302-210-210 for more information. ADB, truly agri and more.
79,000 US dollars only to buy you a studio apartment in Accra. Why not come to Whaley for a spacious 2-bedroom apartment at Alphabet City, our brand new gated community situated right on top of the serene Sakomano Lagoon. Feeling like splashing a little? Check out our exclusive all-detached house gated community, the Jaden Symphonic next door. Sizes range from cozy 3 bedrooms to luxurious 5 bedrooms. We at Whaley are committed to provide you with the best building quality and value for money. In fact, we are the proud recipient of 2019's Quality Property Firm Award. Just like our homes, our payment terms focus on your need. Choose from installment up to 24 months or take advantage of mortgage up to 20 years. At Waylead, we build home for you. Call us now at 0240-111119 or 0504-499999 to secure your dream home now.
You speak you've been very forthright with the diaspora, and you mentioned you had the Joseph project, and also you had the, I think you set up the first diaspora entity that was under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the time. And also in February 2006, you signed the ROPAP law to allow, so you've done your part. But why do you think ROPAP, for example, there hasn't been the political will to implement a law that has been passed?
That's what I meant. The changes do not come
it's been 14
through the masses.
years.
I bet it's 14 years in the life of people.
Okay.
They are just a few years.
Okay.
But in due course, look at what has happened just around last Christmas of how many African Americans came back to Ghana? Apparently 700,000.
Yeah.
When I heard the figure, I couldn't believe it. But it happened.
Yeah.
Everywhere you looked around at our nightclubs, everywhere people came, especially the celebs. So there's improvement that it will come. But as I said earlier, in due course you see momentum,
Okay.
gathering of momentum.
Okay.
But they say great things tend to have small beginnings.
Yeah. Anyway, when last count, I know you said you don't consider yourself a diasporan, but I think you've lived there long
Well,
enough.
with your liberal definition of the word, perhaps I was a diasporan.
I had like 9 of the 10 popularly elected leaders of our country have stint with the diaspora. Do you think it has impacted the leadership in this country in a positive way?
In a way, yes.
Okay.
In a way.
And 9 out of 10. So are we going to see more diasporans leadership?
The choice is the people.
Is the people, okay.
What Ghanaians will decide.
Okay.
Is what would happen. But you said 9 out of 10. If you let's start off not with just the elected leaders, the big 6. They had all lived outside a bit.
Right.
And they were influenced by the, if you like, the international thinking of their times.
Okay.
Then you come to Nkrumah directly.
Okay.
He came in, his biggest message was Pan-Africanism.
Right.
And it spread all over the continent and internationally. Buzia again studied in Oxford and worked all over the world. Influenced governance here. Okay. I don't want to talk about the soldiers so much.
Okay.
But Liman also.
Liman, yeah.
Yes.
Was in France.
Yes.
And you?
Me? Yes.
And
John President, late President Mills.
Mills. Yeah.
John Mahama. Kufour. So.
Yeah.
We are people with global outlook.
Yeah. But when you talk about diaspora, people don't think like that.
When you say people,
I mean, most people.
Have you done census?
Yes, we actually have. We did some studies and we said people, members of the diaspora.
I've told you the changes come not through the masses. They need leadership.
Okay. We want to talk about the I think Article 571 of the Constitution that bars people with dual citizenship from holding these things.
Initially, naturally, if you like, soon after independence, people wanted to protect sovereignty, hard-won sovereignty. So perhaps they needed to be cautious. But in time, there's a relaxation process going on. ROPA was not there from beginning, but it has happened. So you could have dual citizenship, and it's going to come in due course.
But they talk about allegiance.
They talk is a safeguard against hijacking sovereignty.
Okay.
And it's not just Ghana doing it.
Right.
Many other nations would be careful to allow.
Yeah.
But
I think Professor Kwakuaza made a very good delineation between a citizen and a national. And I think once a national, you're always a national, even if you...
That doesn't follow. I would rather think a citizen is the one that should be perhaps more qualified.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Citizen is from Roman times.
Okay.
Citizen is a stakeholder in governance. You could be a national and yet not a stakeholder. In the United States, where you sojourned, could you aspire to be president when you are not a citizen?
Yeah, I think people who are not born and raised in Ghana can be citizen, but like if your umbilical cord is cut in Ghana, you're a national, and I think that's a natural
Cut in Ghana, and you have opted to become a Dutch or even a Nigerian for that matter, and you come back to governors, many people might say no.
Okay.
And when you naturalize in the United States, this Secretary of State, the popular Kissinger, he could be Secretary of State, right? But could he have been president?
Right.
Even though I believe he was lawyer, and he's still lawyer, he's alive.
Yeah, he could.
Lawyer to the United States. There's still the people who draw the line. You can become a secretary, but for presidency, please.
Yeah, we understand that.
So I think that's the difference there.
Oh, okay. I think you mentioned a while back that when we go there, we've changed, and when we come back, there are certain inherent expectations. Do you think Ghana and African leadership, they're ready to meet those expectations in terms of like you mentioned freedom of expression?
The whole world is changing now.
Okay.
The whole world.
Okay.
As I sit here, I now believe what obtains is global markets. Before we were insular, you could talk of your domestic, that sort of thing. Now, whether we like it or not, we are caught in competition on global standards.
Okay.
And this is why we are not careful to develop locally.
Okay.
We become a dumping site for goods from China, America, Russia, all over the place. Why? Because you can't control the buyer. If I have my limited resource, I want to buy a piece of cloth or shoe, and I go to the market, and yes, this thing was produced in Ghana, but I look at it, so I don't like the quality, the feel, and all that. And I see the other thing produced from Europe. Oh, that's it. I'll use my money to buy the European, leave it. I wouldn't say this was made in Ghana, and so I buy in Ghana.
So it's pro-competition.
Competition, and it's global.
Okay.
This is how China, for instance, is making inroads all over the place.
Right. Her Excellency Arikana Chiomborikwa. She's a former AU ambassador to the United States. She was very vocal with regards to how former French was treating her former colonies. First of all, do you think she's onto something?
I wouldn't know. I haven't met her yet.
Okay.
I just
but France relations with her former colonies, do you see a difference between how United Kingdom treats her former colonies?
Well, France had a policy called assimilation.
Okay.
So that even during their colonial times in Africa, some of the African leaders were members of parliament in Paris, in France.
Okay. Okay.
Not just members, even members of government. Senghor, I believe Fuebwani and others. Because France has always had a revolutionary mentality, if I may put it that way. So they tended to think that once you got into their system and you played well with them, then you could see yourself as one of them.
Okay.
And so they would share with you too locally. The British were not like that.
Okay.
Britain kept us, we were subjects, the rest of us in the colonies. You wouldn't become a minister of Britain just because you used to be in the colony. They didn't work on a policy of assimilation. So that's a basic difference that has remained till now.
Okay, so France feels like because of that policy of assimilation, that I hadn't looked at it from that
I think it's that policy that's at the roots of France. So it's deep seated in their psychology.
Okay.
So even as we speak, they have military camps in the Sahelian parts. And I do not know of any British camps like that anywhere.
There's talk of your African Union finally tearing down the borders. Do you see that?
The African Union is working towards evolving integration. But I tell you, it's a slow process. We are moving, but
the language is a barrier. You have English, you have French, you have Hausa, you have
Lusophone, everybody. It's not just the language, but the psychology and a whole lot of things. I've told you 500 years we've had all these foreign authorities and powers sapping the African spirits and brainwashing the peoples. You don't change people like with a magic wand.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Okay. Final question is on corruption. I know you were misinterpreted with your Adam and Eve comment about corruption. I look at it like our tradition. We have a tradition of thanking someone when they've done you a favor. And we also have a tradition of going to seek an elder when you need something. Are these not the fundamental drivers of corruption?
Please, corruption is not our word. Okay. We are using English now.
Okay.
But even the English, you need again to study their history to find out how they developed. England or Britain is a very small piece of land, not much bigger in terms of geographical size than Ghana. But that country managed to reach out across the globe and to acquire, if you like, territories like the United States. What's the United States now? It was British colony. Look at Canada. Look at Australia. Look at India. Look at our own Africa. Would you describe that as?
So I think I get your point. There's some fundamental human relations and arrangement that others see as okay, but when we do it, it's considered corruption.
That's the point. But I'm not endorsing any untoward uses of connection. Again, talking English, we have things like nepotism, favoritism, and all that. That really negates fair play. I've talked of human dignity. In any society where privilege is used to deny others their entitlement to dignity, and that's to me, that's bad. That's corruption.
Okay.
But I don't think this is exclusive to Africa.
Okay.
When you talk of seeing elders and begging for this and for that, it has happened in all human societies before. But we happen to be, perhaps in terms of if we are working on a scale of globalization and global evolution, unfortunately Africa is put at the lowest rank because everybody exploited us and cheated us and looted from us. And when they've used our resources to build their empires and all, they turn on us to impose systems on us.
Yeah.
And if we are not measuring to their expectation, they say you are corrupt. You don't have culture.
That's not right.
We can't accept that sort of thing. But we know the difference between right and wrong in our cultural systems.
Okay.
There's a word, if I may use it, ketasishe. Ketasishe to us is bribery, it's corruption. When, say, traditionally, a matter is at issue and people seek fair resolution, and just because somebody has been behind the scenes or under the table to give something to the adjudicator, things do not go as reason would expect. And so I check it as that the person has been bribed. Right. It's not Bruni that brought that word ketasi to us. We knew it.
We knew it. Yeah.
But again, within our culture, seeking guidance from an elder is considered the proper thing to do, because the experiences accumulated within, if you like, the term elder, are not something you pick anywhere. So you have challenge, you go to the elder. And when people have done good to you, we believe it's just human that you should acknowledge. That's why they thank you. And it tends to be token appreciation. They do. Even in the Bible, when Jesus cured the lepers, he said only one returned to. So he asked, where are the rest? Didn't he?
Wow.
Even in the Bible.
The voter register has been in the news lately. Should we or should we not? I know the new one
Well, by constitution, and I subscribe to constitutionalism,
okay.
The person or the authority, if you like, mandated to organize the electoral process is the Electoral Commission. And if the Electoral Commission, in its wisdom, believes they should get a new register that would ensure a free and fair election for everybody, then I don't think there should be too much fuss about that. The question I expected the objectors to put included, one, whether the time between time for registration for a new register and the election isn't too short. The sensible people would readily say,
okay.
But then if the Electoral Commission haven't considered this, would come and say, oh, we've done our homework, we've prepared, and we can do it within 2-3 months, leaving about 4 months to election. I would say, all right. Because if the commission should fail, we should hold the commission to task. The other thing is whether the machinery to use wouldn't be too expensive. With auditors, that's auditors' work. Whether there's, say, fair procurement, whether the staff to help the Electoral Commission go around the country, total country, to register people or people qualified under the Constitution are in place and they have been trained. These are legitimate questions. And it should be for the Electoral Commission to tell the nation, oh, I've done this homework. I've got my staff deployed. The equipment is so much procured through free and fair means, which is verifiable. We could finish this register with cooperation of all within 2-3 months. If the objectors would look at this, and the Electoral Commission should convince the nation, yes, we can get through all these things and give you the register. Parties would get their copies, and everybody would be ready for the election with a month, 2 months to spare. I would say, let's go along. We are told the population of Ghana now is 30 million, with perhaps most of the population under the age of
about 45%.
voting. How come we have a register that's about 17 million or thereabouts?
Exactly.
So logically,
yeah.
So I think we have.
It's okay. So I want to thank you as we end. What's your final word to the diaspora who's looking to decide whether to come on?
We must all know where we are coming from to be sure of where we are, so we can then project where we want to go. And this is why the diaspora should look towards Africa. The history is in place firmly. It's not legend. There's history written and all that. It should be a matter of pride for you to know your antecedents. So come to Africa. It's the continent of the future, into the global village. And at least in Ghana, we know that our government has opened its arms to welcome all of you. Come and let's make the future together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Listeners, you've been listening to my conversation with His Excellency John Agyekum, Kufour, former President of the Republic of Ghana. a diasporan, if he will disagree.
I'm not
But-
disagreeing.
Oh, okay, very good.
I said I wasn't sure.
Sure. Okay,
Qualified.
very good. Diasporan, and he was very gracious to welcome us to his beautiful home. And we want to thank you for watching. Have a good rest of the day. This is Diaspora Network Television.